This is the story of a family that felt unsafe in America's safest town.
Residents in Westfield, which is a town in New Jersey, claim their town is like the Andy Griffith Show, where neighbors greet you kindly and everyone is friendly. It's about 45 minutes from New York and is filled with many families. It was the 99th richest city in America and its median household income was $159,000. The biggest local issue at the time was a Trader Joe's roof collapsing. The housing in Westfield was very desirable, but it was treacherous buying it. The residents claimed that there was a lot of money and a lot of ego, and that also the boulevard used to be the street to live on. You made it if you lived on the boulevard. In June 2014, Maria and Derek Broaddus, alongside their 3 children, thought they were moving into their dream home until a series of disturbing letters signed by the Watcher scared them out of it. Derek and Maria Broaddus moved into their dream home at 657 Boulevard in New Jersey. The house cost roughly around $1.3 million, and they were preparing to settle into the house when they received a letter signed by the Watcher. There was no return address. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here?
Chip, be 100% honest. If you received this letter through your door before you've even really moved in, what are you doing?
I'm thinking it's one of the boys.
You have to think it's a prank.
Because it's just so unrealistic. I genuinely, when I'm reading that, I feel like I'm watching a movie.
You would have to just assume it's your mates pulling your leg, because just seeing the stuff here, like, I've been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. That's fantasy. That's not real. No. People don't send letters like that.
People don't even speak like that.
Would you be spooked out? Be honest.
I mean, yeah. Yes, I would. I would be a little bit like, that's a bit of a weird letter to receive that. Because
you'd put it in the group chat and you'd say, right, which one of you lot did this? That's funny. And when no one owns up to it, at that point, it's like,
I don't think I would actually go to the police straight away though. I'd just like firm it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to the police.
I just think I'd firm it. First letter, I'm firming it.
The Broadduses went to the police and told them of the letter. The police suggested they keep the letter quiet as all their neighbors had turned it into suspects. After having talked to the police, Derek and Maria went to the previous owners who had mentioned that they had also received a letter from the Watcher, but had thought it was a prank and did not read into it. The Woods claimed they had lived there for 23 years, and nothing of the sort had happened. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived. This letter was addressed to the Broadduses by name, and included the children by their birth order and by nickname. Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will. 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic? Or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I passed by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family. Welcome to the products of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you to me. Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching. He had used their names in this letter, addressing them as Mr. and Mrs. Broaddus, misspelling their name.
Okay, Hands up. At this point, I definitely am spooked.
Yeah.
This is a long letter, and the bit that would freak me out the most about this letter is literally the one sentence where he says, "Then I can plan better."
Yeah, plan what? What are you planning? What are you planning? You coming over with, some stew?
Yeah.
We're gonna kick it back and have a barbecue?
I'll be honest with you, Chip, I don't think that was his plan at all. I think this is going to be a lot more sinister.
Yeah.
At this point, straight up, I'm not moving into the house.
Yeah, I'll be fuming as well because they just dropped $1 million on this.
Over $1 million?
Over $1 million, and this is meant to be the place to live. 657 Boulevard,
This is it?
This is it. All the hot chicks are living there. This is the zone.
I mean, I think the way they talk about this is like the house is almost haunted, or something bad has happened in this house, and then the Watcher is this like guardian of the house just watching over it, because maybe even they're scared of this house.
This, by the way, would really make a good movie, and you just literally have to call it The Watcher.
I swear it is a movie.
I wouldn't be surprised if that has been.
If not, then we've handed this on a platter to Netflix.
Trademarked it. Trademark. Copyright.
That's exactly how it works.
That's how it works.
In the letter, he talks about, I will be watching. Where do we reckon this guy is?
Is he in like a van parked up, like down the street?
But you would instantly go out and look. Like,
if I was his family and I was getting these letters, I swear I'd be at the bedroom window, peering all day and just looking for any suspicious activity. I'd have a Ring doorbell set up, premium one from Amazon.
Yeah.
I would be like a hawk,
locked in. I don't know. This is really, this would spook you out. Is he a neighbor? Is he someone that works on the street? Is he someone that far away that just does like...
And now he knows them by name, by the way. He's addressed them by name, and like he knows the birthdays of like the kids and stuff. It's a bit strange. But I mean, it's stuff you could find out through the internet, but...
Yeah.
It is weird.
It's spooky regardless.
Derek and Maria stopped bringing their kids to the house and were debating whether they should move in or not. When they failed to move in, the third letter arrived. Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. A year went by and there was no sign of uncovering who the Watcher was. There was no digital trail or fingerprints to help the police. Derek started to struggle with depression, and Maria started to struggle with PTSD. 6 months after the letters had arrived, the Broaders family decided to sell the house, but with all the rumors and news circulating, no one was interested in buying. This led the Broaders family to sue the Woods family, as they failed to disclose the letter they had received prior to selling the house. But in 2017, the judge threw out the case as it was unreasonable information which sellers would not have to disclose. In 2016, they also tried to have the whole house torn down and redeveloped, but the plans were not approved. In the spring of 2016, the Broaders family found someone who was willing to rent their house. This family consisted of parents, 2 dogs, and 2 children. The family were willing to move in on the basis that they had a clause in the lease which would allow them to leave if another letter arrived. 2 weeks later, the letter arrived. To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria, 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away, but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet, loved ones suddenly die, planes and cars and bicycles crash, bones break, you are despised by the house, and the Watch won. The renting family decided to carry on renting as long as more surveillance was put around the house. Derek asked FBI agent Robert Lennon to carry out a threat assessment on the letters, and his results suggested that the letters were likely written by an older man. He didn't think the threat level was severe, but did say the behavior could be unpredictable.
First of all, credit to the family that said they would rent this, because nobody wanted to buy it, and this family here said, oh yeah, no, we'll rent it. Fair enough, because the letter that came after that was in a very different tone to the other ones. The other ones were just like, ooh, we're warning you. All seems like pretty, not that threatening. It's just, it's weird and creepy, but it's not threatening. And then here, the opening to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria.
He called her a wench, like.
Hands got to be thrown.
He is not playing.
At that point, then it feels like your life is actually at risk now.
Yeah, but the way he says it is like the house has paranormal like capabilities. Like maybe maybe a car accident, maybe a fire. Okay, those things he could do himself. Maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away. Like, what is that? Like, what? I've got a cold and it just stays forever. Who's doing this?
I think that the Watcher is also like quite afraid of the house.
Yeah.
Or like it feels as if you don't respect the house,
then bad things will happen.
Then bad things will happen. Yeah. And it's like, how dare you disrespect this house that my family have like looked after for all these years? And he's got like this weird attachment to the house that he just can't let go.
Like it's supernatural. So planes and cars and bicycles crash. Okay, cars and bicycles, I get it.
And do you know what must be annoying is the fact that obviously they've gone to the FBI, they've gone to the police, and every time they're not getting anything back. No. Like no fingerprints, no DNA, no nada.
The Woods family believed that the Watcher was someone who was upset or petty about having their offer rejected on the house. When the Woods put the house on the market, there were many offers above the asking price, and thus came the conclusion. But then it came out that one interested buyer had pulled out for medical reasons, and another had found a more suitable home. Michael Langford. He was a neighbour who lived in the house next door, and it had belonged to his 90-year-old mother. The family were harmless, but they were seen as strange. The father of the family had passed away 12 years prior to this case. Michael himself was diagnosed with schizophrenia and was known to scare the new neighbours when they moved into their house, with behaviours such as peeking through windows. One of the envelopes had DNA from licking the seal, but a sample did not match anyone in the Langford family, and so there was no evidence to connect him, and the prosecutors had ruled out the Langfords as suspects.
This is looking like a reasonable suspect here. Like he's got schizophrenia, and like one of his known things was peeking through the windows when people would move in. It's kind of like already lining up a little bit. But the fact that there was DNA evidence on one of the letters, and they did the trace and check, and it didn't come back as a Langford family, which means he's either working with someone or it's just someone else completely.
Now, supposedly, right, of course, apparently, he was actually interviewed. The Michael Langford, the neighbor, was interviewed after the first letter was sent, right? Of course, after that would happen, I think you would be like, okay, like they're sort of onto me here. This is actually quite serious. Maybe I shouldn't send any more letters. But more letters came. Yeah. So again, maybe it isn't Michael Langford, but honestly, the fact that he's a neighbor means that he can easily see what's going on. He can see the people going in and potentially even overhear conversations, find out names, things like that, a little bit more info about them.
It's a strong suspect in my eyes, this one. And you know, the letters, he's got a couple of mental illnesses. He's diagnosed with schizophrenia. The letters, you know, maybe that's a good sign of somebody that has a mental illness. The letters are quite intense. They're quite, the way they're written.
They're strange.
Very strange letters.
Yeah.
So,
I like the idea of him being a pretty strong suspect, but like we said, they had to rule them out because there just wasn't enough evidence. And I mean, all the evidence these guys really have is the letters. And if ultimately the DNA didn't match,
dusted.
They believed it was someone in the neighborhood, as the letters had mentioned the contractors and the children even by name, suggesting that the Watcher could have overheard them talking. The letters indicated proximity as they were processed in the postal service in northern New Jersey. The first letter was postmarked before the sale was public and only a day after the contractors had arrived. There was never a for sale sign. The neighbors also claimed they didn't notice an unusual commotion from the indoor renovation.
I mean, I think it is safe to say that it is definitely someone in the nearby proximity, someone in the neighborhood, because 100%. You just wouldn't be able to keep such an eye on the house itself and all the activity, the movers and things like that coming in and out if you didn't live nearby. Like, I don't think you're trekking in an hour, 2, 3 hours in every day just to see what's going on, right? So, I mean, yeah, the theory that it is someone in the neighborhood, I think that's pretty much a given, but you would have thought that should be able to really whittle down the people and maybe even do a bit of like written analysis. Were these letters handwritten? If they were, then
that's a good point.
Let's do a little bit of analysis there. Does anyone recognize this handwriting? Let's be a bit more proactive. I feel like the police didn't really dig as deep as they could have.
One night when the detectives were patrolling the house, a car had pulled up outside the house. This car belonged to a young woman from a nearby town, but she was in a relationship with somebody who lived on 657 Boulevard. When asked, she revealed her boyfriend liked to play dark video games, where he played as a character called The Watcher. The boyfriend voluntarily scheduled interviews with the police but failed to show up, and the police were unable to force him to come as they did not have enough evidence.
This is either the craziest coincidence or there is a guy that lives on 657 Boulevard that plays in a video game where the character is called The Watcher. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the video game. I don't know a video game with the character The Watcher.
Yeah.
If you do, or if anybody watching does.
Please let us know what game that is. We had a little quick look, but you guys will know better than us.
Yeah.
The main thing for me, though, about this particular theory is the fact that this boyfriend, right? It isn't just like, oh, we found this lady and her boyfriend plays a game called The Watcher. Like, that is just so far strung. It's more so the fact that this guy actually went out there and voluntarily booked in interviews with the police and then never showed up. Again, we've seen this in loads of cases that we've done. It's like teasing the police.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys want to interview me? Oh, I'm not going to turn up. Like, I'm just toying with them a little bit in the same way that he toys with the family.
And the car of his girlfriend pulled up outside the house. That's how they even got these details. Because they asked the woman. And then she said, yeah, my boyfriend actually... It's a little bit weird, right?
Is he sending the girlfriend out there like, oh, would you mind going looking at this house and just let me know what's going on?
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't even realize
what
she's a part of.
Yeah. Ooh.
I really like this
I like
suspect
that one
here.
too. It's just annoying, like they were unable to force him to come to an interview as they didn't have enough evidence.
Yeah.
That is frustrating because it could be this guy.
The final theory puts the blame on the Broadus family themselves. Somehow, they managed to move houses swiftly, starting from their first house, which cost around $315,000, to the second, which cost $770,000, and then to 657 Boulevard for $1.3 million. They had also been approached for movie rights on this case. It gave the Broaduses reason to continue the act of these letters. It was also found out that Derek had written several threatening letters to the neighborhood after the Broaduses were denied planning permission.
We don't mean to interrupt you in the middle of this fantastic and gripping mystery, but we do just want to let you know quickly about something called Noom. If you guys are into your health, then Noom is the new psychology-based way of getting you to where you want to be. If you want to lose weight, it's about changing your approach to the way you eat. It's about having a different way of looking at food. So instead of going, I'm never going to eat this food, I'm cutting all this out. And look, that's great and all, but is it sustainable? What Noom wants to do is be able to keep it sustainable over long term. It's about finding a new way to have a relationship with food so that it's not like I can never eat this and I can only eat this. It's about finding the right balance. Of course, here at the Fellas, we don't do anything without science, without evidence, without backing, right? And they've said that more than 80% of users complete the program. Fantastic. More than 60% of users lose 5% or more of body weight, and 60% of them keep the weight off for a year or more. And that's the most important part. What's the point in making progress if you're not gonna be able to do it and keep consistent with it, right? Not only that, but Noom has published over 25 peer-reviewed scientific journals, right? Journal articles, sorry, about the science that goes into their approach. So, guys, if you want to live a healthier lifestyle, right? And I know Chip's been trying to live a healthier lifestyle.
We try.
You do, and to be fair, you've been doing a pretty good job. I've been trying as well. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm trying to improve the amount of vegetables I've been getting. This program, let's focus on that. Let's get the vegetable intake up, right? Now, of course, if this is something you guys want to do, and which I would highly recommend, it's noom.com/fellasmysteries, right? And you can check out the trial on there. That's noom.com/fellasmysteries. Please, guys, check it out. Don't say we don't sort you out. Go on, get yourself in shape.
Become a Noomie.
But did they really do this to themselves? For me personally, it just doesn't make sense, because the main point here is the fact that they've just completely dumped the value of their house.
Yes.
Like, you just wouldn't do that unless these guys really have like a load of money here. It just doesn't really make sense to do this.
No, there were people saying, oh, they were getting movie rights from it and stuff like that. Maybe like an
You
attendance
can't
thing.
predict that,
But
though.
you can't, like, you don't know for certain that this crazy little story is going to get made into a movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the end, they actually sold the house in 2019 with a loss of $440,000. So it obviously didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I just don't think any family would want to lose that kind of money.
Okay, so here's the only way in which I see this is like one of the parents just really didn't want to move here and they hated it. So in order to do it, they've just made up these letters. and let's say the wife is like, oh my God, we need to send this to the police or whatever. Is that like, that's the only scenario which I see that being themselves. But even then, this is such an extreme way to go about it. I'm just, and it's also an expensive way to go about not moving in.
Yeah, you just leave. Okay, you can't just leave.
What is your main theory, Chip, then? What do you believe?
I like to think I'm leaning.
It's really between the neighbor and the boyfriend, right?
I'm leaning towards the boyfriend of the woman that pulled up outside the house. I just feel that the coincidence. He plays as a character called the Watcher. Maybe he's been inspired.
Yeah.
You know, like,
There's
it's working for me.
on.
He lives on that road as well, 657 Boulevard. He is a neighbor. So he could easily get that intel, sends his girlfriend out to get a little bit of a closer look.
Yeah, I mean, I really, personally, I'm with you on that, Chip. I really think it is. But I also feel like they just ruled out the...
Michael Langford
a little too quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of surveillance on his gaff would go a long way. Anyways, guys, we'd like to hear your theories down in the comments below. As always, from me and Chip, thank you guys very much for watching and listening to Chip's wonderful, deep voice, soothing voice.
Thank you.
If you are new around here, then hit subscribe. If you are on YouTube, turn on the notification bell as well. And if you are listening to this on Spotify, then be sure to hit the follow button and stay tuned every single Monday, because that's when it goes off, baby. See you guys next time.